Is sleep training cruel? What a great question. Well, it depends what kind of sleep training we're talking about, because I've no doubt there probably are approaches and versions of sleep training that people use that perhaps could be a bit cruel. But what I define as sleep training is absolutely not cruel. Sleep training in my mind is actually about helping a child to become a very skilled, independent sleeper at a pace that's right for them, in line with their actual cognitive ability, developmental abilities, and also in line with their personality, their temperament, their sleep needs, so many other factors. So sleep training is effectively just helping to develop, enhance or master sleep skills, which we all need. The ability to settle to sleep and back to sleep is a learned skill. It's important to know that from the outset. It's not something we just get, it's really not. And even though you might know families and you might have a friend and think, oh, they're so lucky, they didn't have to do any sleep training, they actually did, they just didn't know they were doing it. So they either got into a very simple routine or they just set up some very basic cues. They may not have even known that they were doing it. It was just instinctive. The child's possibly an easygoing, go with the flow sort of temperament. It just clicked. What the parent did, what the child needed, it just clicked and it just happened. Nevertheless, that child was still in some way taught how to settle to sleep. So, and if that's not the case yet, then they're running on a fluke, and I wouldn't be surprised if at some point it comes unstuck. So it is a learned skill. It can be unlearned and it can be relearned. Just because you had a child that maybe used to self-settle quite apparently and very well, doesn't mean that they haven't forgotten that skill or lost that skill, and that can happen quite a lot if they've become ill or there's been a period of disruption. For some reason things have been a bit different and then it's really hard to get back on track, so they can unlearn the skill as well. So it is not cruel if it's done in the right way for you and for your family and for your child's needs and your parenting philosophy, etc. It's not cruel when it's done gently and kindly and at the right pace. Children do cry, and people say, leaving your child to cry is cruel. To what extent? That doesn't really make sense. Leaving your child to cry is cruel. Well, yes, if you're going to leave them alone to cry for prolonged periods of time on a regular basis, perhaps then you're in the cruel zone, we're talking orphanage treatment or whatever. But on the whole, if your child's crying or having a meltdown, perhaps you said, no, you can't have sweets today, and they decide to have a cry. That's okay. They're learning. They're expressing emotions. That's okay. You can comfort them. You can reassure them. They might not want you to. I'm thinking about, a 3-year-old maybe here. And that's okay. Crying in itself is fine. And there's more and more pressure and more controversy around, the baby's crying, quick, you've got to somehow magically make it better. Sometimes you can't make it better no matter what you do. What's important is that you're responding. You're responding consistently. You're showing that you're there for your child, that you love your child, and they're responded to. That's the real key piece. And I think it just gets so misconstrued, and all it does is create unnecessary pressures and stresses on parents, which then in turn lead to more tension, which causes more tension in the child, and it has a knock-on negative effect. So it would be great if everyone could just relax a little bit about crying being bad. Crying isn't bad, it's how you treat it that can be good or bad. I think that's a better way of putting it. So sleep training, from the approach I come from, isn't in any way cruel. It's actually a gift, because usually if we're in a situation where that child is, if we're talking about sleep training, we're talking about 18 weeks and older. If we're talking about younger ones, then I do some very basic sleep training, environment setting, cue setting, rhythm setting. It's very foundation. But when we're actually talking about sleep training with the bigger ones, then that is done in a very gentle way. So we're talking about helping them to develop and move forward with abilities around sleep, tweaking the timings of their sleep, making sure they're getting the sleep they need when they need it, and not trying to make it happen when it's just not natural and it's not right for them. Avoiding their overtiredness building up, and all these things that help to get the most and the best for that child who is usually asking for it. They're usually going, I really want to go to sleep, I just don't know how. Or, I really want to go to sleep, but because I'm so overtired, there's all these hormones going on and I just can't fight them. And, those sorts of things that disrupt sleep. And by sleep training, I guess that means getting it all back on track. And with me, that's all done in a very gentle way that's conducive to everybody getting some sleep, but at the right pace. So, and everything I do is also in line with parenting philosophies and styles. If you're an attachment parent, then that's fine. We work with that. If people think, well, I want to breastfeed my child and throughout the night and have them still sleeping by my side, okay, that's fine. And we can probably still get a better sleeper from that child in that situation as well. It's not all or nothing. It's not black and white like that. So yes, sleep training absolutely does not have to be cruel, and I think that there may be versions of sleep training out there that could be cruel. Certainly not what I do, and most people I think in my field do. It is really not in any way cruel. It's not even very traumatic or upsetting or disruptive. It's just natural. It's a natural flow. It's little steps, and everybody just feels better. So, hope that answers the question about sleep training, and I will see you soon.